Good morning, ATown. I'm Andrew Smith, and I sat down with congressional Democratic candidate Gloria Witt to talk about some of her educational policies for this election. I want to make it clear that ATown today does not affiliate with any political organization or campaign. This is purely for educational and informative purposes. So let's go to the auditorium to check out that interview. All right. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Andrew.
Yeah. What would you like me to call you? Gloria Witt? Miss
Gloria.
Witt? Gloria. Okay. And Gloria, just for the camera, can you tell them what your name is and what your current profession is?
My name is Gloria Tinsley Witt, and I'm currently the candidate for 5th District House of Representative role on the ballot. But in my day-to-day work, I'm a small business owner for Defined Success Coaching and Facilitation Services. So I enjoy working with leaders and training and leadership development, as well as team building activities.
Nice. That's pretty cool. And can you tell us a little bit about your previous experience with like public service and politics?
I have little experience or zero experience in politics. But when it comes to community service, I've worked in community service for 4 decades.
Wow.
I've been a part of many different boards. One in particular is the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Lynchburg. I was engaged with that group for 17 years. I performed every role except for the treasurer. And I've been the president of the NAACP for 6+ years, but I've been a part of that social activist group for probably since I was 14, so many years, but just stepped down from that presidency role. And I'm on the Central Health System Board because I care about health equity and that sort of thing. So a lot of experience in advocacy coupled with my corporate American experience.
So that's a lot of experience there, yeah.
Yes, but no official political role. This is my first opportunity.
It must be a pretty cool opportunity, yeah.
It is. It's, let's just say, it's completely different from the corporate America, but a lot of the skill sets are transferable. So it's been a learning journey, and I'm enjoying it because at the heart of all of it is helping people.
Nice. That's pretty well said. So we'll get right into some of the policies.
Okay.
So there've been a lot of stories about book censorship. You know, and that's kind of controversial. So we were wondering what your views on that issue, maybe.
I consider this whole idea of book banning as a culture war. Books, in my opinion, should be available based on the appropriate age. And when you think about books in a school environment, I like to think that I trust the professionals to understand the roles as librarians, and they would make the right choices for our children. The book should be available to feed curiosity and understanding in a broader context, because some children don't have access to books, and they might get curious about something at the appropriate ages, particularly in a school environment. So I am against book banning, but books should be available at the appropriate ages. And to literally throw out books, you're basically saying you're stifling learning and growth, because each person is uniquely different and curious about different topics, and they should have it available at the right ages.
That's pretty good right there. What's your view on the federal government's role in education?
Well, I think the federal government have a responsibility in terms of setting the large framework. I look at it as the skeleton and the funding source, because not all communities are as wealthy or as thriving as others. So they kind of set the big picture and the funding. And then the states have engagement, like adding the meat to the bone, the structure, for the actual activities, and how do you create the quality of universal education, because that's what public school programs are all about. 80% of young people attend public school education. So how do you set up the structures so that every child can learn and have what they need to be successful, productive adults?
Yeah, I agree with that there. Next one, it's a little bit, this is a more controversial policy. So the No Child Left Behind policy has been pretty controversial since, it came around. We were wondering where you stood on that policy.
The No Child Left Behind policy was, I think, done with good intentions by, I think at that time, President Bush. And he really set up a structure that basically tied standardized testing. So the goal originally was to find out how all students are doing in public schools. So they created a standardized test, and they tied the testing to teacher performance, which really got interesting and caused a lot of pain. And it elevated teacher standards, teacher qualifications, but literally tied funding to the teacher. And it created quite a bit of pain. Obama came in and he passed another act that supersedes No Child Left Behind. And that one deals with every student success. And it kind of alleviated the pressure for tying funding to teachers, but it also gave power to the states to set up the criteria for success based on their own unique districts and what was happening as well. But they also focus, and they continue to focus on teachers and their qualifications, as well as started ensuring that public schools had opportunities for children to attend college level courses like advanced classes. So I think every school across the nation now offers college level courses to young people, which is a good thing, and it gets into a lot more detail than that. And I recall one of your questions says, what would you change about it? And this is one of the elements that I'm running on. In 2015, when the Every Student Success Act came out, there was a lot of emphasis on everybody's going off to college. That's really not what's happening. So the shift to career technical education, it kind of shifted a little bit. Now we're at a point where we're realizing that from a business perspective, we need skills, career technical skills, and open the pathways back up for more young people to go down that route rather than obtaining a 4-year degree, simply because businesses don't need as many as we were producing. And you've got, which I think is an imbalance of the cost of college versus the type of job you can get versus the type of jobs that we need in America right now, which is career technical training. So that would be the thing I would want to shift when I make it to Congress, to really talk about career technical skills, because 60% of our young people don't go off to a 4-year college, can't afford to, not interested in it, or they don't go to the military. So what happens to all those young people? And I think we've got to kind of swing the pendulum back a little bit and really highlight and lift up career technical skills, because it'll place the young person at a living wage job level versus an entry level salary point in the market. And you can always get a college degree. I got mine at 35, so if you want it that bad, you can get it later if you're not inclined to go right to college.
Yeah, that's some pretty good statements right there. Yeah. So can you tell us about your own experience as a high school student?
Well, this is another thing I noticed in high schools. I have a 16-and-a-half-year-old grandson. So I've watched him, and I also have 4 other grandchildren. 7, oh, let me get this right, 7, 6, and soon to be 4. Boy on each end and the girls in the middle. And what I've noticed in school is when I was going to school, I would almost, I don't know, really be sick to miss a day in school. Because for me, it was an environment of belonging, of excitement, of meeting my friends and learning. And it was interactive. And I think somewhere along the way, and I think maybe in our efforts to elevate performance, we have taken the joy out of school. Mm-hmm. School has almost become, I don't know, it's like you show up, you sit down, you grind, test, grind, test, grind. It's like, where's the joy? It's no joy for the teacher, and it's no joy for the young person. And I think probably, and I'm just anecdotal, but I really think that a lot of young people are struggling because in the school they have no opportunity to connect with their friends. Lunch is 20 minutes. PE classes, even in elementary school, is something like 20 minutes. You don't have time to do anything. How are you going to, really kind of enjoy the day? I think we need to look at the curriculum and kind of relax some stuff and create joy again for the teacher and for the student. I could be dead wrong, but that's what my instinct tells me. What do you think about it?
I agree with that. I mean, you get a lot of work sometimes in school. Yeah.
It's a lot, and I'm all for learning. I'm all for education. It's the key to success. We all have to do it. But do you have to put 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag? And that is what's happening, and no one seems to be doing anything about it. It's like we know we're stifling the learning environment, but we just keep pouring more into it. It doesn't make sense to me. It's insanity.
It is a little bit insane sometimes, yeah. Yeah,
That's what I've observed from watching my grandson.
Yeah. Where does he go?
He goes to school in Campbell County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you already kind of answered this, but the next question was, if you could change one thing about today's public education system, what would you do?
Put some joy back in it for the teacher and the student. Yep. And I think one way of doing that is to really look at what's really a priority and which levels, and allow students to think and play, because as I'm an adult educator, I have never started a learning moment without a connection period of fun. And we're grown people. And I don't know if you all get that. It's like step in, test, test, test. It's really kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion.
I can agree with that. This one personally is kind of an issue to kind of my family sometimes. So what is your view on teacher pay and workload? Because, I mean, my mom's a teacher.
My daughter's a teacher. I think the whole idea of workload is a lot. I think that the role is not just the teacher. You almost have to, you've got so many different roles that they're expected to do. The social, emotional, the counselor. You're trying to keep young people whole. I don't think the salary is commensurate with the level of work that's required, and we need to do something about that. And the argument is, well, they only work, 9 months out of the year, but they get the whole year's worth of time in those 9 months. And particularly with the cost of a college education and the importance of educators, their salary is, to me, is well beneath what they're getting paid, and we need to do something about that.
Yeah, I can agree with that a lot. next issue. So Governor Youngkin, I'm sure you've heard about this, recently passed a phone ban bill. So what are kind of your views on that?
Well, initially I thought it was wonderful because too often we're looking down and not paying attention. In a perfect world, I initially thought naively that, the teachers could say, everybody put your phone on the back of the case, pick it up on your way out. But evidently, that kind of standard isn't working, and so the adults decided they had to do something about it. The impact on the young person, I'm told, is that you don't like it, and more importantly, it's connected to maybe a safety issue. You want to be able to reach out to your parent if something happens. So there's some anxiety along those lines. But I think it's a failure of either side literally setting up the the expectations and the rules, and then mandating a carry through. But there's a breakdown between teacher respect and respect from a student, maybe. Because in my day, if the teacher said put the phone down, you put the phone down. But evidently that's not happening today. Now you're in the moment, I'm not, but I think there's a disconnect. The students are not listening or obeying to the rules, and so now we got major decisions that impacts the feeling of safety for a lot of young people.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened, right? We weren't listening, and then
you gotta own it.
Yeah, we got the consequence. So
you have to own it.
Yep. So another issue, this is nationwide, facing the schools is safety in the schools.
Major.
Yeah. What are kind of your views on that, and how might you try and make schools safer for students, especially regarding the gun violence?
I think that you would hate to feel like when you're entering school that you're entering some sort of prison. So how do you create an environment of openness and security, etc.? I've gone around visiting various schools in the district in my political role, and I've noticed where some of schools have invested in metal detectors. Some are more invasive than others, like like they have the type that you walk through at TSA in an airport. That looks kind of controlling, like, am I going into a prison or something? Other schools have these little stand-up columns that are actually mobile that you pass through, and it's almost cutesy, so it's not quite as intimidating. Those things I think are necessary inclusions to ensure a feeling of safety in today's world. So you've got that, the metal detectors. The other thing I ran into in a school in Louisa is that they lock their doors. Every classroom stays locked because a gunman has never come in and shot anybody when the door was locked, because the way the school doors are made. That's an easy solution. The third thing is to, one of my elements or areas of focus in my political campaign is to ban assault weapons. I'm all for common sense gun laws, but we've got to get a grip on these assault weapons and get them off the streets, maybe slow down the purchasing process, etc. But yes, we need to do more. Metal detectors, the ones that's not so invasive, and making sure doors are locked would maybe send a signal of security. And not only the external, these are internal classroom doors locked at all times. Just because statistics show no one has ever gotten killed when the door was locked. That was like an aha moment for me.
Yeah, so if given the chance, you would implement those strategies.
I think they're worthy strategies and life-saving strategies, and not quite as invasive as the big old metal detectors that you see in an airport. Because this should be a place of belonging, and it should feel like that, not like I'm walking into penitentiaries or something.
Yeah, every time I go to an airport, I walk through the TSA, I'm always a little bit nervous. So,
It's sad that we have to be here, but we gotta, you know, save lives where we can.
Definitely. So, right, this is a question I originally didn't send you, but I think this is important. So, right, if elected, how would you work with the opposing party on different issues?
Well, I think with my corporate experience in particular, I have traveled a lot, different countries. I'm in rooms with all types of people. And one of my gifts, I think, is the ability to listen and to compromise and collaborate to move people and organizations for forward progress. So to me, it's not so much an opposing opinion. America is an inclusive world. I mean, we come from all different types of social economics, different places in the world, different backgrounds. So the idea that we're all going to agree is a myth. But we can agree on a common interest. And the goal for me is be in the room, find the common interest, and listen. And once you understand what the barrier is through listening, you can move forward with thoughts and recommendations to anchor in the commonality and then move the entire position forward. And that was one of the reasons I felt that I should run for Congress, because that is a gift of my ability to pull people together for forward movement. So I don't look at Republicans as different than me as a Democrat or an independent, because we're human beings. And everybody want to be respected for their ideas, and together you can find that common grain to move us forward. And that's the only way forward, because we are a diverse world, and we're never going to roll back and put people on the edges. We're a collective America, and that diversity is what makes us powerful. And when I've done my work in corporate America, if you put all these different types of people in a room and they agree on a common mission and a goal, honey, bar the door, because we're going for it, and we succeed, because that's power in diversity.
I agree with that. I feel like sometimes in politics it's so black and white. Sometimes I think working together is pretty important.
And that is why we have chaos in Congress.
Make sure to stench that chaos.
Chaos in Congress, because everybody wants their way, but and you just got to find that thing, move forward.
All right. So next question, a little bit tougher. So, right, in 3 U.S. states, there's been state action to include Bible teachings into schools. So I mean, I was wondering, like, what your views on that was.
What are my views on teaching Bibles in the school setting? Well, the U.S. Constitution basically separates church and state, that sort of thing. To me, because we are an inclusive America, I thought we had settled this issue back on a Supreme Court ruling many years ago, and basically it allows for schools to hold moments of silence, because even though we think that our prayer, or the Lord's Prayer is the prayer, it's really not, because different religions have different solemn prayers that they say. So I'm on the side of hold a moment of silence. If you're in the upper levels of school and there's a group that is together and they are all on the same accord with permission, you could do it. but not to force it on people. You know, we were founded on this premise of religious freedom, and I think with the MAGA Republican Party, they're trying to legislate morality using, and I would say they're impacting our religious freedom because of that. Because although I worship God, other people may worship a different type. So to me, the neutral thing to do is to hold that moment of silence and let the individual pray, or ask permission if the student is an older, like in high school, they have discretion, find out whether or not they want to have that common agreement. I know some football teams will, you know, hold hands and say a quick prayer. If long as everybody agree, pray your heart out. But you can't force it on people who don't know God, have a different faith or religion, and just force it on them, because it's all about freedom of choice.
I agree with that, definitely. What do you think the role of school is in the teachings of, you know, gender, race, and sexuality? I know that's,
I don't think that the role of the school is to teach about it, but nor is the role of school to demonize it or to make a child feel less than because of their gender and their desire to be authentic for who they are. So there's a middle ground in there, and I think it's about just letting an individual be who they are and don't judge it. Now, do I stand up in the front of the class and start going through the options? No. But nor should you demonize a child or an individual, an adult, for being their authentic selves. There's something wrong with that. And I have to take a page out of my teenager's grandson's book, and he says to me, the problem, Grammy, is the adults. We know who each other are. And I said, well, that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
You go to school together every day, you know?
Yeah.
No. So that's my opinion on that.
Okay.
Just let people be their authentic selves. Their parents know who they are. You know, that's what matters. Make people feel whole and loved and a sense of belonging. That's what school is about, not to divide.
Definitely. Yeah. So this next one is about former President Donald Trump.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Right, Trump has talked about wanting to close the Department of Education, which would, you know, obviously go through Congress, and that would, you know, require congressional action. So what do you think of that idea?
Well, I think that if I look back on the board versus the Department of Education ruling back in the 60s, when actually schools in Virginia closed down for years, and that was the birth of private schools and charter schools then. And if we don't have the skeleton, the Department of Education, to hang standards on, then we know what will happen if the states take full control. There will be inequities. There will be basically inequities in the system of education, because there's no one kind of setting those standards. So I think the Department of Education's role is to be that big picture structure and funding to level out communities that are not as wealthy as others, so that every child can have an opportunity for a quality education.
Yeah. Like you were saying earlier, the skeleton, right? So this is the last question. What would you do if you were elected to make student and teacher life better?
Well, I think that there's got to be probably some more research on curriculum design, and does it really work? And listen to teachers. Teachers know what they need. I am a big believer in deferring to the expert. And we have situations happening now where if you're not in the trenches, and the world changes all the time. And if you happen to be in an executive role and you're not in the classroom, the chances of you really knowing what the experience is in the classroom has shifted from 20 years that you left the classroom. So listen to teachers, listen to principals, and then figure out what works and come up with something that's broad enough for the standard to be set, but it also gives wiggle room to each of those districts to meet their needs based on where they are as a community. And I think everybody would be better, and more importantly, refocus on these career technical skills, because to me, a lot of young people are losing hope in their future because they don't go off to college or they don't go to the military and they get their diploma and they're all excited and they end up working and they can't make ends meet because they're at the low end of a salary range rather than at a living wage salary range because they don't have a career technical skill. And if we've got them all in school for 12 years, the least we could do is make sure that I would say every kid gets a career technical education, and if they want to, go off to college. So that is my hope for education, and that will actually impact economic growth and opportunity for the entire district.
That's really well said. That's all the questions we have for you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed it.
You did really well this interview.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yep. I wish you well with your campaign.
Yeah. Well, we got, less than 35 days left?
Yeah.
And my hope is that people will vote because that's true democracy. Everybody has an opportunity to express their choice, and the choices are pretty clear. We're either going to lean into protecting democracy and advancing justice and restoring hope and opportunity for all of us, or we're going to sign up for a plan that may roll us back our rights and freedoms. So, and it's up to us to show up. So if any of you happen to be turning 18 before November 5th, get yourself registered and vote. You have until, I think it's October 15th. October 15th, I think, to register to vote.
Yeah.
And you can, as long as your birthday happens before November 5th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's all we have. So,
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was too easy, Andrew. I wish you all too easy.